be strong in this time, son. I'm a survivor. I will survive. I will survive. And I'm a firm believer. We'll forever strive just to stay alive. That simple means it. Nobody can hold me, man. Nobody can change my energy. Nobody can tell me sick. I will let alone negativity. Nobody can hold me, man. Nobody can change my energy. Nobody can. Nobody can. Everybody show me some strength. No weakness, show me a lion come. Strength, no weakness, show them who we are. Strength, no weakness, show me a lion come. Everybody strength, no weakness, show them who we are. And when you roll, your enemies they must tremble. Your enemies they must tremble. Yo, and when you roll, everything has to humble. Everything has to humble. I'm a go-getter. I just go hard. I just go hard. And I'm a kind of fella. Put my trust in God. Put my trust in God. That simple means say nobody can hold me, man. Nobody can.
This is Ridealong Live, where everyone has a story to tell.
Yeah. You gotta be firm in this time, son. You gotta be strong.
Hey, what's up? What's up? Ride along. Welcome to the ride. Welcome to the ride. Welcome to Wednesday on the ride. And of course, we have here Fun Day. Fun Day is live. Yeah. Fun Day. What's up? What's up? What's up? What's
It's,
up? What are you
it's
doing?
Wednesday. It's my favorite day of the week, Junior. It's my favorite day of the week.
Yeah, I know. I know exactly how you feel, Fun Day. Guys, it's Wednesday. And you know, on Wednesday, we always, first of all, everyone is excited because the Fun Day is here. They don't get excited for me, they get excited for Fun Day. She's the star of the show. I'm just gonna hang in the
I love the shirt though, Junior. I am feeling that shirt.
Yeah, they said that I should wear more branded stuff.
I love it.
So the folks in Ride Along say, they think I should start wearing some more Ride Along branded stuff. So I'm gonna start doing that.
And I'll put my address in the chat so you can mail the Ride Along branded stuff this way.
Yes,
I'll do that.
Of course. Everybody needs the Ride Along branded stuff. Everybody. So Fun Day, how the hell you been?
Junior, I spent all week with you. You know how I've been. We did top 5 on Sunday.
Oh, Lord.
We did Gay in the Caribbean on Monday.
Lord.
And we're doing immigration now on Wednesday. You want to know how I've been? I've been dressing up all week and I'm loving it. I'm loving it.
You know the funny thing, Fun Day? You know the funny thing about it is we say we're dressing up, right? But half of the time when we're doing this stuff, people don't understand this. I only dress half of my body. I don't know about you, but I just...
No, I dress up. I go all up because where else am I going, Junior? Like I get dressed up for the shows.
Fun Day, I am wearing flip-flops.
Well, I have no shoes on, right?
I'm wearing flip-flops and I have on a short pants. I'm dead serious. I just put on a shirt, sometimes a tie, a jacket, and I'm butt naked under. Sometimes most of the time. But
I dress up. The big thing now is jewelry, just putting on the jewelry. So at least from the top up, it looks good.
Yeah.
For Zoom and everything.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Well, we have quite a few folks in the chat already. We have Lydia James, who is in first. Wow.
As usual. Hey, Miss Lydia. Hey, Patricia Cornwall. Looking wonderful, Madame Lawyer. Thank you, my love. Hey, Dwayne. Dole McGriffith. Hey guys, thank you for joining us. We appreciate you every Wednesday.
Yes.
Spending time with Junior and I, because quite frankly, we have nothing else to do, right, Junior?
Got nothing else to do. People said, "Do you lie? Well, what you always hear?" Anyway, Funday, I really like what we have planned today, because everyone know that on Wednesday we talk immigration. We give you guys all the immigration information that you need to empower you, and Funday have all these details. But today we're gonna take it a step further, Funday, because it's right around, it's days away from the U.S. election. One of the biggest election, I think one of the most important of our lifetime.
I agree. I think over 50 million people, if I'm not mistaken, have cast their ballots. Don't quote me on the number of people, just a whole heap of people. A lot of people, historical, have cast their ballots to date. I think it's the most since, I forgot what election, but we have a lot of Uno out there already. I'm just impressed.
Funday.
So impressed.
And your bouncy, your headphone.
My headphone bouncy?
Oh,
Is this better?
Oh no. Okay. I thought you didn't have it on. It's so small. I didn't even see it.
Because I use my headsets that match my clothing.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah, I use dark, lighter. Yeah.
Oh, look at me. What am I doing?
But when you're Junior George, you don't need to, to do anything.
Ridealong headphones, man. That's
Darren Johnson, Professor Darren Johnson out of New York. Thank you for joining.
Yeah, yes. And we have Kathy Banks. Langine says she voted early.
I don't trust Kathy. She was giving you answers last week to the naturalization exam.
Yeah. I did some research and I think I am ready again. The next 2 weeks we're gonna do it again, and I am freaking ready this time.
Okay, sir.
I'm ready for Uno.
Ready for it. You're ready for it. Ready to. Professor Johnson, Mo, thank you. 51% compared to 2000. 51% over when we're compared to 2016. Thank you for that, Mo Franklin.
Wow.
So people in droves have made their way to the polls. I've made my way to the polls already. I did early voting. Thank you for coming in. Join and share. So remember, me tell them to say, if you're not a citizen, stay to the people in polling stations. If you're not a citizen, do not go to the polling stations, please.
True.
You cannot vote.
True.
You can volunteer.
Yeah.
You can volunteer at the polls. You can help direct traffic. You can hand out hand sanitizer. So you still feel like you're actively involved in the voting process. But this election is not Uno.
Just don't vote. I got to start. I had to start a watch party. One second. I had to start a watch party. Hold on, guys. Bear with me. I had to start a watch party, and because there's some people that watch the program, and if I don't start a watch party, they don't get notification.
Oh, they don't get their notifications. Okay.
Facebook. So I got to start a watch party right now, and I just did. All right. Good. So we're ready to go. All right.
Yes.
So we have a lot of things to discuss. We're going to go right in, and we're going to first introduce a good friend, a lawyer friend, and we're happy to have him on. His name is Hardam. Say his name is
Hardam Tripathi, attorney Hardam Tripathi.
So we're going to call him Trip for sure.
Trip. Do you mind?
No, that works for me. Trip.
Is.
Okay.
Trip, unmute. There you go.
All right, Trip. Welcome to the ride. How are you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing well. It's a great day. I'm glad I could be here. So thank you for having me.
Absolutely, we happy to have you on board. Trip, it's right around that election time, and I think it's important because we have a lot of Caribbean people watching. People that's watching from Grenada, from Trinidad, from Jamaica, all over. And a lot of times they don't quite understand the electoral process. So I want us to take a little portion of the program together with Funday to explain to them a little bit of how this whole thing works. Because last election, they heard about popular votes and Hillary Clinton winning the popular votes, but still losing the election, and Donald Trump winning the electoral college and still won. And she won the popular votes. So how could we sum up? What is the electoral college, that college that people never been to, versus the popular votes. How could we explain it and break it down for people?
Right. So the way the Electoral College is, it was a system that was set in place originally when our founding fathers, during back in the 1700s when America was founded. The whole process went around. They were scared of tyranny at the time. Obviously, there was a lot of historical significance to the Electoral College, and it's also a hotly contested issue. There's people from the National Popular Vote movement that really want to have every vote matter as a majority vote. And then you also have the Electoral College system where each state has certain levels or numbers of people based on their population. So that's another reason why the census is so important. But basically, the whole way it works is that the Electoral College, it's 270 votes to ultimately win the presidential election with respect to the Electoral College. And right now, there's a movement to dismantle the Electoral College because there's a movement basically focusing on the popular vote. And the reason, there's arguments to be made on both sides, but the reason that the proponents of the popular vote movement, they're saying that, each vote matters. There's a consensus or an aggregate of a lot of votes, and that's the ultimate people speaking to who they want as president. And then the proponents of the Electoral College look at it from kind of when the Constitution was created and kind of how our country was started. And that's because they wanted to focus, they were so scared of tyranny and of the people not maybe having the best interest in mind for the nation. And so what they did was they set up an electoral process which basically allocated certain amount of numbers per state to ultimately vote in the president on behalf of the states. And this was actually put in place because you have very, very large states like Texas and California and very, very small states like Rhode Island. And so in order to balance out and maintain state sovereignty, making sure that the states had power and were equally represented, they ultimately implemented the Electoral College to make sure that smaller cities, smaller communities, smaller states would have an equal voice when voting for a president as compared to larger states. So that's kind of the whole process on why the Electoral College was started, because of the fear of tyranny.
Right. And we see here, like I was saying that, like a place like New York, where we have the Democrats will, like, by default would win New York, places like New York and California, right? And if it was to go by,
Absolutely.
if it was to go by popular vote, it's almost certain that the Democrats might win election all the time, right? Because they are like in those bigger states, correct?
That is the theory, yes, sir.
Right. Okay. Before we go on with the discussion, I want so we have clarity in terms of our discussion. Do you identify with the Republican or the Democrat or the Independent parties? Just so we have an idea where we're going with the conversation.
I definitely identify as part of the Republican Party.
Okay. All right. Let me get Funde back in here again. Funde, before we start with the political talk, do you want to add anything as it relates to the Electoral College versus the popular votes?
The only thing I'll add, and I think Attorney Tripathi summed it up really well, and I think it's confusing for a lot of us, especially those from the Caribbean are accustomed to the cabinets, meaning if you win the most vote, you win the election. Just keep in mind that the amount of electoral vote is based on the size of the state. So like a bigger state like California would have more electoral votes. There are 538 total votes. Of that 538, any of the candidates, presidential candidate Joe Biden and President Trump will need 270 of those 538 votes in order to win the presidency. And most people are going to say, so what's the purpose then? Does my vote not count? Yes, your vote counts because your vote counts towards the popular vote. So it's very confusing. It was very confusing for me. And I think it's still confusing, but just keep in mind, just like we saw in 2016, there's a candidate that can win the popular vote, meaning one candidate gets the most of the votes, but still lose the election because they didn't win some of those key states that have those large numbers of electoral votes.
Right.
Diani, that's a great way you put that, because this 538, that actually comes from the 535 members of Congress. So it's one
And
per member of Congress plus 3 electoral votes for DC. And so that's why the 270 of the 538 is the majority. And currently 48 states plus DC state that if you have the majority of the electoral votes goes, they get all the votes for that state. The only two exceptions right now are Nebraska and Maine, and they kind of do it something somewhat differently, where they allocate 2 electoral votes towards the state and 2 towards the specific districts where they're at. So that's the only nuance of that. So I just wanted to piggyback off that, and you know, you made some excellent points. I just want to piggyback off that and kind of put that out there to understand where those numbers are coming from.
Mhm.
Right. So again, it is perfectly normal that a candidate in this upcoming election to win a plurality, to win more votes total combined, and still lose the election because of the electoral college.
Right.
Right. Okay. All right. I want to bring this now into policies and immigration, because Trip, you are an immigration attorney. How has the past 4 years been in terms of immigration under this current president? Do you think that the initiative by this president have moved closer to implementing broader immigration policies that would affect people's life, or you think it got worse? What do you think?
I would say a little bit of both as it relates to immigration, just because when you look at whether it got broader, they did get broader. They started going into things such as asylum that was not traditionally explored, where they started constricting a lot of access to asylum seekers. So that's something that was very difficult, and it did make life worse for a lot of immigrants, which is very unfortunate, because at the end of the day, there are serious cases of persecution out there, and there are country reports by the State Department that are being written that sometimes do follow a political agenda. And they're saying that there's countries like Guatemala or Honduras or even countries in the Caribbean stating that the conditions are okay, that we've funded them, we've given them money. So everything's all gravy and good, but it's really not sometimes the true face of what is going on in those nations. And so it does make it difficult as a practitioner, as well as also for these hardworking immigrants who are trying to come here and live a better life. It does make it a little tougher for them to navigate some of those immigration policies, because the current administration has just exacerbated what the Obama administration was already doing when they had the highest number of deportations under that administration with Obama, and they were putting people in those so-called cages that everyone talks about. They started that process, and now President Trump is just implementing it even further, and you're seeing kind of these cities of people living in probably horrible conditions, and it really does affect, and it does retract people from wanting to come to these great United States of America. So it's a double-edged sword. He has done a great job in terms of limiting the amount of human trafficking, reducing crime at the border, controlling the ebb and flow of drugs and narcotics. But at the same time, it comes at a humanitarian cost, because not everyone is doing that, and you can't easily paint with a broad brush. And so it is sometimes the humanitarian element is left out, and it does have drastic implications on the day-to-day lives of the American people, and also on those immigrants who are trying to come to the United States.
Trip, at the beginning, you said that you are a Republican, right? And I
Yes,
respect
sir.
your political alignment. But do you identify the Republican Party as it is right now? Do you
I do.
is the Republican Party of Ronald Reagan? Is the Republican Party the party of McCain? Is it the same Republican Party?
It is not the same Republican Party as it was with Reagan. It is now the party of Trump, and you're seeing a lot of Republicans who feel, and a lot of Americans in general, who feel a certain sentiment towards where the country is headed and where they want to go. And also, there's other Republicans who are voting based on how these issues impact their day-to-day lives and their families' lives. So you're seeing a lot of states along the Rust Belt, like Wisconsin, Michigan, even Pennsylvania. You're seeing a lot of those kind of states, those blue collar workers, a lot of the people who work their day jobs 9 to 5, work very hard in those blue collar jobs, who just feel that there's certain sentiments towards different policy issues, and they feel that the Republican Party is taking care of them. And I really believe that the Republican Party is taking care of Americans. They've done a lot of things as it relates to economics. They've done really great job at putting the great justices up on the court. They've done a lot of great things in other aspects. However, when it comes to immigration, it is a little tough, and I don't completely agree with the administration's policies as it relates to issues like asylum, where there are people who are literally needing dire help, people who have acid thrown on them from countries in Africa who are trying to come over here, people who have gender violence going on in different, lower socioeconomic countries. But when we paint with the broad brush, it really takes a lot out of the humanitarian side of things, and it's unfortunate. But one thing I am proud of is that we have stemmed and flowed and reduced the amount of human trafficking, the gang violence that's come in, and there are hard facts online through think tanks and through FBI statistics. So you kind of, you get the positives and you get the negatives. And so the party now is not the party of what it used to be. It's now the party of Trump. Republicans still have those same conservative values as it relates to, being against abortion and things of that nature. But at the end of the day, it's just a different party. And you're seeing that because the Democrats have also come out with different policies that some may argue that it has become more radicalized. And so you are seeing different viewpoints and polarizing opposite party platforms. So that's kind of where the nation is heading. And, hopefully with this new administration that will come in, whether it be Biden or President Trump, we will hope that it does bring all Americans together under, the United States. We are united. It's in our name, and let's hope it stays that way.
Do you identify with the xenophobic and racial epithet of president as well, when he comes out and he says certain things about immigrants and about Mexicans and about blacks and in the condescending way that he have done so? Do you identify with that type of xenophobic, racist type of things that he say in his tweets and otherwise?
Absolutely not. That's we don't condone, decisiveness within the Republican Party or even within people who have conservative values. This is a nation of all people. I myself of Indian descent. You're of island descent and all that. So everyone's from the Caribbean. We all have a lot of value to bring to America. The strength and fabric of our nation is built upon minorities and diversity and people from different cultures who come here to our country. But I think what the president has done has been just trying to enforce the rule of law, as Article 2 does require. So I would actually put it not on the president or on the Republicans. I would actually put it, or on Democrats for that matter, I would put it on the American people to vote in a Congress that aligns with their values, because Congress is ultimately the one who passes those laws, and ultimately those senators and representatives are the ones who ultimately create laws that affect our lives. The president and his administration just carries it out.
You got to take it from the head. A fish rotten from the head. You got to take responsibility. And this president, as far as I have seen, have never took the responsibility for anything. He always brushed it up on somebody else. And I'm not sure how any Republican could identify themselves with his thinking right now on any agenda item. First of all, let's look at the coronavirus. He botched the whole coronavirus protection for the whole 200,000 people dead, 200,000 plus people dead, and he still doesn't get it. He knew that the virus was deadly. He knew that the virus is killing people. Yet for all, he did not come clean with the American people. A lot of people die because he did not do that. Do you identify with that as well?
I would say that's a very complicated issue. Here's why: because you can't put deaths that's a global pandemic on one person. Yes, he should, take responsibility to an extent, but at the end of the day, he did have a task force. If you looked at the vice presidential debate, Vice President Pence kind of explained that the same plan that Kamala Harris, along with Joe Biden, that they're trying to implement, they mirror each other. This is something that's a public health crisis. It is a virus that no one would have anticipated. So it's easy to put the blame on the president, which I understand he is the leader of this nation. However, there should be an understanding that regardless of any president, even if Joe Biden was president, this is something that, this is out of any control. I mean, they were working with what they had. They had a great team of epidemiologists, virologists.
Due respect for you, sorry to cut you so much. I really want to get back to the discussion with Fundy, but I really want to get this topic out because it's the first time I actually have an opportunity to speak to a Republican on the program that support the agenda items of the president. Now, it is Trump's responsibility because he was tasked with the responsibility of protecting the American people. So he cannot run away from that. And he cannot blame it on anybody else. No, this coronavirus affected many other countries, right? South Korea, right? Um, Other places in the world, Canada, they are doing much better than the United States. But instead of the president acknowledge the fact that he doesn't have a plan and try to get a plan, he just ignored the thing like it never happened. Yesterday, they put out one statement saying that one of the achievement of the administration was curtailing or dealing with the coronavirus. The coronavirus is not gone away. It's still here. Thousands of people are still dying every day. I go to the funerals. I see that, but he does not acknowledge it.
I would respectfully disagree to an extent. You are right in the fact that, a lot of people have died. It's very unfortunate. This was something that we did not see that would be forthcoming. However, President Trump and the administration have done a lot of things as it relates to the FDA. I did my master's in pharmacy. I understand the regulatory components of it, and the regulatory process is very convoluted, very long-winded when it comes to the FDA approving vaccinations, drugs, biologics. And what the Trump administration has done is they've actually limited and deregulated overall across multiple agencies within his cabinet to ultimately make it easier for people to get those orphan drugs and get drugs that could speed up the process. He's done more for veterans as it relates to those treatments and for the geriatric population by deregulating levels for pharmacovigilance as it relates to phase 1 testing, phase 2, and phase 3. And he's actually cut down the amount of time it takes for a drug to then come to fruition so that the American people can actually be treated with a vaccine. He's had multiple reports within the administration. He's had weekly meetings with his chief of staff along with his counterparts, and they've literally done multiple presentations talking about what the status of what they're doing, what's going on. They're staying transparent, and ultimately they're keeping the American people informed. And I think that given the sheer magnitude of what this virus is, they're doing the best they probably can because they have the best and the brightest probably working in that White House, at the NIH, at the CDC, and with the FDA.
You're right.
As it relates to coronavirus, they've even helped Caribbean countries. They've donated thousands and thousands of dollars to Caribbean nations who have suffered with COVID-19 through strategic public-private partnerships. And so there's a lot going on that I think the media sometimes does not expose of what the administration is doing, which is where I understand the frustration of most Americans. But there is things going on within the government. There are things that are absolutely taking place to help not only the American people, but people in the Caribbean community as well.
All right, Funday, I don't want you to feel left out, right, Funday?
I love it. Full disclosure, Tripp was a student of mine. So when I'm able to sit back,
right.
I taught Tripp in law school. So when I am able to sit back and see my students engage on a platform like this, it makes me proud, believe it or not. And I always have to give you credit, Junior, because like you said, everybody have a story to tell. And we welcome everybody on the Ridealong platform. Tripp and I have these conversations all the time because we both struggle. We have a lot of things in common. We're both immigrants. We both agree with some of the policies of the Republican Party, and we both agree and disagree with some of the policies of the Democratic Party. So Tripp and I will always have these conversations, and that is why I wanted him on this platform so people can see that not everybody who supports the Republican agenda or the Republican administration is inherently bad. Right? And I say all that to say, I disagree with some of the things Tripp has said, right? I disagree with some of the things he has said. The part about painting a broad brush, I don't know that the president painted a broad brush. I think the president or under the current administration have deliberately attacked immigrants. The laws, they're not a broad brush. They have targeted. There has been so many policy changes when it comes to the rights of immigrants in this country. It makes me sick. Every time you turn around, it's a new policy. There's something new taking away the rights of immigrants. Most recently, we have the Wait in Mexico program, which affects asylum seekers. That's not tightening the rules on asylum seekers. That's not helping in human trafficking. In fact, what we've done is swept the human trafficking outside of the United States across the border to Mexico. because now that's where a lot of the human trafficking is taking place, is right under our noses across the borders. So some of the things I agree with Attorney Tripathi on, but when it comes to like things like asylum and human rights and some of those humanitarian visas that have been affected so much under this administration, I just can't agree with some of those policies from the president.
Absolutely. And another thing, Trip, I know that you're very much aware that the COVID-19 disproportionately affect African American. Right now, more African Americans are dying because of COVID-19. So I'm very concerned because I got a chance to see a lot of funerals. I've been through a lot of them, as I told you. So it's right in my backyard. And when I see the president talking about this thing as he's downplaying the coronavirus, and essential workers who have to go to work, and essential workers meaning people who work in the nursing industry, they have to take the train, and they're dying, and a lot of them are dead already. And the president is coming here and talking and downplaying the virus. It makes me very upset. It makes me sick to the core. And a lot of my community people who are watching right now, they understand exactly the same thing. Why is it that the president did not come clean with the American people and the people of the world as to the deadly effect of the coronavirus when he knew that it was deadly as it is? Why didn't he come clean with that? Could you relate to that?
Yeah. So first of all, I want to say, I'm sorry to hear that, you had so many deaths, with friends and colleagues. That's definitely not a good thing, obviously, and very unfortunate. And you're absolutely right. There's stats proving that it really disproportionately affects people of color more than any other community. There are reasons behind that as well, as it relates to kind of the funding and the lack of funding in those communities, and kind of the education involved sometimes of training these people who live in those communities to kind of take safer precautions. So it is unfortunate. But to answer your question, when it comes down to why didn't the president come clean, I'll revert back to kind of what I was saying earlier, in the fact that when the virus first was known in January, when it was really, really, prevalent, he was one of the first people to actually stop the flow of it coming from the Wuhan province area in China.
That's wrong.
However,
that's a talking point, and it has been disputed, and it's incorrect. He did that, but he didn't ban everybody from coming in.
Well, Junior, if I could finish real quick, I know you asked me a question, so I just want to answer it. I know you're very passionate, and I really appreciate
Trip,
that
you're in the
passion.
hot seat today. Trip, you're in the hot seat.
No, it's completely okay. But I know with COVID, as it relates to COVID, go ahead, Junior. Go ahead.
No, I'm saying you're in the hot seat, so I apologize. So go right ahead, Trip. Go right ahead.
No, it's fine. This is what creates dialogue. I'm actually proud of you for bringing this up, because at the end of the day, there's some people in our lives who won't even sit down with you and have a conversation about it. Sometimes it's really good when you have a conversation, so you can kind of understand where people are coming from. And we may disagree at the end of the day, possibly, or we may sway each other, possibly. But the fact that we have the confidence and the charisma and the bravery to sit down and have this dialogue that most Americans aren't willing to do. They'll do it all day on the keyboard, but they won't do it in person. This actually goes a long way. So I do respect that, and I appreciate us having this dialogue. But trying to go back to your original point, yes, eventually, there are points, and that's the thing about the media, and that's the thing about, conflicting issues when it relates to who did what. But President Trump was the first one who literally did try to stop the flow of goods, people, limiting travel. And he got blamed for it very heavily, and was called a xenophobic person and a racist and all of that, which, comes with the territory when you're president, I assume. But Joe Biden at that time did that. Well, nothing against Joe Biden, but I would like to see, maybe if it was another president, not Trump, but maybe someone who wasn't as, as bombastic as he is going out with what he says, how could they have handled it? At the time, there was no data. It was a global pandemic. People were still trying to figure out what was going on. So I know I see your smirk there, and I just want to kind of talk to you about it. But the thing is, at the end of the day, when you don't have the data and you don't have the facts, you do the best with what you have. And that's what the administration did. They were very quick to create a task force that addressed it. They were very quick on stopping the travel. They were putting out executive orders. They were also working with members of Congress to implement, laws that would come out that ultimately affected how our travel advisories would go, working with the State Department, working with even our immigration system to make sure that the American people were safe. And so they did the best they could with the resources that they had. And with respect to the PPP or PPE issue you were talking about, they were actually working on it. The only problem is there's other underlying elements. China, unfortunately, at the time, owned all of that equipment because of deals that were done in the past through Obama era policies and other past presidents. And so when he basically had this disaster to deal with, he was kind of didn't have the resources, and then they did the best they could. And I understand it's the facts, it's truth. But at the end of the day, he did the best he could, and it's not a good answer sometimes because
but
the best
I think
he could resulted in
that's
death.
not a good that is an unacceptable answer, I think, for the president to use, that I did
Exactly.
the best that's just unacceptable. And the blaming Obama, I think at some point that has got to stop. So
yes. We're not blaming Obama here. We're just saying.
So we're going to blame the Obama administration for the Muslim ban.
No.
We're going to blame them for everything bad that has happened since. I think, Trip, I'm hearing you, but at some point, if the president can even just take some responsibility, for example,
I think he has. You said that in the debate.
He hasn't. In fact, there were a couple of apologies in the debate, and most were made by presidential candidate Joe Biden. So there weren't a lot of apologies in the debate. So that would be nice if the president would just come off of his position, talk to the African American community about the violence that they're experiencing, talk to the immigrant community about some of those bad policies. Just acknowledge, instead of just these random tweets.
Well, I would argue that he has done that.
But I haven't heard him, and most of my friends that are African American or Muslim or Nigerian, we just have not heard him. So I'm not saying he hasn't.
Right.
We have not heard him.
And that's because, unfortunately, the way the media kind of shows these things, there's actually this website.
I think even if he tweets it, even if he sends a tweet, just send us a tweet that says, just like how he tweets everything else, just send us a tweet.
And it's a typical talking point I'm hearing. I'm hearing blame the media. I'm hearing blame Obama. I'm not hearing.
We're not blaming Obama.
I'm not.
We're not blaming him.
Or not today.
I'm not.
No, it's just. I mean, he dealt with what other past administrations went through. So it's kind of the bureaucracy of the government led to what Trump had to go through with this global of a pandemic. And so I wouldn't blame it on one person. I would say we as a nation should have done a better job working out trade deals with China when it involved PPE, and also dealing with the bureaucracy that led up to this. Because if we had a more streamlined process, then it would have been better. And Trump actually took advantage of that, partnering up with companies like Amazon and Johnson & Johnson and all these pharmaceutical companies to make sure that through those public-private partnerships, we were able to do better for the American people. So I would argue that there's a public-private partnership agreement there that definitely helped.
Trip. In February, the president knew, and I'll go back to that because I'm not getting clarity on it. The president knew back in February that the virus was airborne, that it would kill people in the air. It's in the air. He said it. Can't deny the fact that he said it. So he knew it. Privately, he's saying that. Publicly, he's going and telling people, oh, it's not okay. You could go ahead with your business. So here's what people heard. It's okay. It's no problem. You could go ahead with your business. Hear what my community did. They went ahead with their business trip. They went, took the train. They did everything. And you know what happened? They died. Right? If the president only came out and say, ladies and gentlemen, the virus is killing you. It will kill you. It's in the air. And he came clear by a tweet or on Fox or wherever, it would have saved lives. The president.
I agree with you. He could have articulated a lot better.
So that's what I'm saying. I don't want to deny the fact that the president made a ton of mistakes. He lost and he wasted a lot of time, precious time that could have saved lives. And he still have not embraced this virus. He's still downplaying the virus to today. He caught the virus, or so-called caught the virus, whatever it was, I don't know. He went to the hospital. He came back and said, oh, it's not as bad. Again, downplaying the virus. So what people would do, everybody go back to their own thing and doing their own thing. People are dying. This is not about Republican and Democrat. This is about life and death, right? And I don't think anyone could defend his negligence. Just say he's negligent. He should have been upright with the people. He wasn't. He's negligent. He did not protect the people, and that's his number one. That's his number one job, to protect the people. If I work in the boss of a job or whatever, My responsibility is to protect everybody in the building, right? If something happened to them, my responsibility. I take full responsibility. He didn't. He failed. He failed. He failed. And we cannot give him another 4 years because what is he gonna do next? What is if he has not yet even thought about what he would do as a policy? Why would anyone think of giving him another 4 years to do what?
So, Junior, I like I said, I respect your passion again. That was awesome. You brought up a lot of good points. I do believe that he has accepted responsibility multiple times on national platforms, during debates, also in briefings, and also with respect to his administration and the task force. They've consistently came out and consistently informed the American people that this is a serious virus, that there are precautions that need to take place, that we do need to wear masks. However, I think that ultimately at the end of the day, the state governments and the state and the people and those local populations need to decide that. And I think that having someone like maybe Joe Biden come in and say that it's a federal mandate that everyone wears masks, I think is just ludicrous, because it's not reasonably, you can't enforce it. You know what I mean? It has to start at the state and local level. It is a serious virus. He has admitted to it, and he's accepted responsibility. I can provide clips to y'all later and articles. But I do agree with you on your initial statement. I do agree with you where he could have articulated it better earlier on, because if he had done that, it would absolutely have saved more lives. So I do agree with you. Sometimes with his articulation of some of his at his briefings and kind of what he said, it was kind of out of the ordinary for a president. However, because of his strong task force and his administration that kept him grounded, he was able to communicate effectively soon to the American people that yes, this is a virus that should be taken seriously. And he himself got it along with members like his son, members of his family, and he was able to get the health care that he received that not all of us could probably be lucky enough to have, right? So I do understand where you're coming from, and I do respect that he should have articulated it a lot better early on, because it's really unfortunate that there was that amount of time, but there were policies that he did put in place and that his task force did put in place that did ultimately curb that. And so I see where you're coming from, and I respect your passion, but at the end of the day, it's a middle ground road kind of thing. And it's in the middle. Like, he could have done a better job initially, but as soon as they found out in March and April, they were really working with the private sector, and they really did do a good job. And you are actually seeing higher rates of survival. We always hear about these deaths. That is true. But at the end of the day, there's like 99% survival rates. And the people who usually have them are usually people who are of the geriatric population, who have underlying diseases like diabetes and things of that nature. So I do get it. From a medical and scientific standpoint, there are younger people are going to be okay. Babies will be all right. We cannot shut down the whole economy over. I understand if it would be like something even crazier than coronavirus, but at the end of the day, you got to look at the pros and the cons, and it's a balancing test. And at the end of the day, how far do you go to shut down those small businesses who are working very hard, who have to let go of their staffs, who have to do all this stuff? At the end of the day, you look at it, it's a balancing act. I mean, you can't shut down the whole economy like Biden probably would like to propose over a virus. Yes, it's serious. However, at what point do we push our nation for a total shutdown to let this go? It's not working in India. It's not working in other countries like China, and it's just, it just doesn't make logical sense. I understand the emotional component of it. I really think it's very unfortunate. It's very sad that people are dying. But at the end of the day, do you shut down a whole economy to really do that and hurt more businesses and hurt more people with their livelihoods? That's what we have to consider.
Listen, health is your wealth. If you don't have health, you can't do anything else. I'm from Grenada, and I have to applaud Grenada, the government of Grenada, for what they have done. They stepped up and they put laws in effect to make it mandatory that people wear masks. I believe masks save life. The head of the CDC says that mask is somewhat more effective than even anything else right now, than the vaccine, waiting for the vaccine. All of these things at his disposal. Instead of he implemented and listened to the science of the whole thing, what he did, he feel like he know better than everybody else. He don't have to listen to the scientists. He debunked what the CDC, head of the CDC said. Right?
So I would like to maybe ask you a question, Junior. Then would you say, I mean, masks are effective. It does reduce, a lot of the chances of getting the virus because obviously it goes through our mouth, through our breath, through our nose. But at the end of the day, you could touch a door handle, you could sneeze, and it could hit your pupils. At the end of the day, it could be on your skin. There's a lot of other factors associated with it. That's just one element of the whole mandate of keeping ourselves protected. It is a good preventative measure.
Right.
However, people are still going to get it. So how far what I would ask the American people, what I would ask our viewers today is how far do you go? At the end of the day, are you going to stay in your house all day and that's all we do? Or do we have to go back to business as usual at an extent? I'm not telling people in nursing homes or, people who are a little older with underlying symptoms to go out and go to, I'm not telling young people to start going and shaking hands and going to concerts and things like that with large groups. We do have to hold ourselves accountable and be responsible. But at the end of the day, there is a balancing test, I think, and you can't just completely shut down society and people's day-to-day lives. We
What was
have
the
to have
question?
those preventative measures in place.
What was
So
the
I do
question?
agree with you,
What
but I
was the
would like to
question?
say that. Go
What
ahead.
was the question you had for me?
Oh, my question is, how far do we push it then? What in your eyes, what would you want to see besides the masks? If obviously we all agree, I think we can come to a consensus that masks do save lives, that that it is a preventative measure. We do agree on that. No one's disputing that at all. But what I want to say is, would you shut down a whole economy? Would you be a proponent of basically having everyone limited, kind of what they're doing in other nations where you can only go out to buy milk from the hours of 7 a.m. to 10 a.m.? Do you limit the amount of movement between state lines? There's a lot of different constitutional implications with this. How far do we push it? What would if you were if like let's say you had the authority, what would you do to save American lives beyond the mass? And how far would you push it?
Right. Here's what I'll do. I'll listen. I would listen to the people who is placed in there to advise me. I would listen to the scientists. I would look at the science. I wouldn't go by my gut instinct. I don't think that way. I wouldn't go by that. I would go by what the science says. I would go by what the people says. Now the CDC, Center for Disease Control, he came out and he picked up a mask in his hand and he said, this is much more effective than anything else. Probably much more effective than waiting on a vaccine. You know what Trump did? He went and he said that no, don't listen to what he said. It's completely wrong. He probably was crazy or something like that. He debunked what the CDC said. He called Dr. Fauci an idiot. He don't listen to nobody. So to answer your question, what I will do is I would listen. If the science says that you should do that, I would push to implement what the science says. All right. And Mo said it earlier. Mo Franklin said it earlier. Biden didn't say it was shutting down the entire economy. He said it was the balanced decision with making sure safety standards are in place, right? And there might be situations in New York where you need to take stricter enforcements. Fine. But in California, it might not be the same enforcement that's needed in New York. Understandable, right? Look what happened here. We have states who needed PPE. The federal government wasn't using the strength and the power to provide PPE. They had to find PPE from Korea. The Trump administration botched this whole coronavirus, and nobody could tell me different. It's clear. There's no excuses for that. No one can make an excuse for what he did with the coronavirus. He botched the whole operation. Fonda, you have a question? If you have a question, come in right now.
I'm just watching the both of you, and I agree with you wholeheartedly, Junior, as far as when Trip asks, and that's a good question, what would you have done? I would say, yeah, follow what the CDC says. And we look to our leader for certain guidance. And there's the extreme of shutting us down, locking us in a house, and nothing happens to the economy. And then there's the middle ground where we're saying, hey, take as many recommended safety precautions as possible. And I don't think this administration did that. They did not lead by example, for example. I think the president walked out of Walter Reed and walked straight into taking off his mask. So those are things I think as a public, as a people. And I jokingly said to Trip today, I'll stop wearing my mask if I can get treated at Walter Reed. Not everybody has access to that kind of healthcare or treatment that the president received. And so for our little grandmas and grandpas, they're going to struggle through, if not die because of Corona. So those are things, that we have to take into consideration.
Absolutely. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I would
Go
just
ahead.
like to say, yeah, I mean, y'all made some excellent points, but I would also disagree on a few of those, respectfully. But I do want to say this is kind of how it starts. If you kind of look at what China has done, it is biological warfare, in my opinion. There's also reports out of, other administrations going there. There's a lot of things that are going on behind the scenes that is not often reported. However, when you kind of look at it holistically, you are seeing that, yes, with the balanced safety standards that Mo was talking about earlier, but those safety standards are in place. They're given to the states to run. The governors are doing their jobs. Unfortunately, if you look at states like New York, it's a ghost town now in some of those districts, and you're not seeing, the deaths are still happening. So yes, it is a balancing act, but at the end of the day, it goes back down to this is just the start. If Biden says that, do we believe him? At the end of the day, I mean, this is kind of the left has gone further, to the left, and this is kind of the beginnings. History often repeats itself, and when you do look at these kind of situations, controlling movements and individual liberties of the American people, this is just the start of what could be. Not saying it is, but what could be, and we just have to be cognizant of that because we want to make sure that our rights are not being compromised based on a virus that has a 99% survival rate. And so there are a lot of people dying. I'm not going to take that away from you. And one death is one death too many. But at the end of the day, out of the sheer population of what America is, for that select population to die, do you basically not shut down? Maybe I'll rephrase, but do you make drastic changes to the way the United States government and its economy operates? And that's something I think the American people should consider when voting for Joe Biden, because I do believe there will be more government control, not less, under that administration. And people of Caribbean descent and most minorities in general are hardworking people who want to live their lives individually on their own accord. And when you have Uncle Sam, telling you what to do and how you should live, I think that does cause a problem to someone's day-to-day quality of life. So I really do think that we should definitely take that into consideration when Joe Biden says this is what we will do. And we're not going to go into the corruption of that, but what we will do versus what will actually probably happen. So maybe time will tell once this election comes and goes, but people should see it from both sides and see that this is a start. This has happened in many other countries in the past with our history. We should learn from it and not repeat it.
Three problems that I have, and I hate repeated. Four problems, actually. I mean, many problems. Oh Lord, I have a lot of problems.
Let's talk it out.
One of the things that is really getting to me, and it's sticking my craw every time when the president say, "Well, we're doing more tests, so we find more cases," and it's like, yeah, you're doing more tests and you're finding cases. But that doesn't mean that you should stop the testing, right? It does. The testing.
No one's stopping the testing. Everyone's still getting tested.
The testing is not a vaccine. He's saying that we have more cases because we do more. He said exactly. His quote was, "We have more cases because we do more testing." Right.
Right, and that makes sense logically. The more you test people, there's obviously going to be more results that come out that way. So it just makes sense from a population perspective. Obviously, the more tests you do, there's going to be more results, more hits of people being infected. But at the end of the day, people recover quicker too. It's usually about a 2-week quarantine on average, and people do recover.
Herd immunity. The president speak about, and that's the second thing that's sticking my craw all the time. Herd immunity. The president and some of his cronies inside of there, Lindsey Graham and some of them who know nothing about the healthcare. I listen to Farsi. I'm not a medical expert, so I listen to the people who are medical experts. Herd immunity, aka mass murder. How could I mean, that's what it is. You're saying let as much people catch it. Let as much people catch it. Just a few of them will die, but that'll be okay. They'll develop some kind of immunity over time. How isn't herd immunity, in your opinion, mass murder?
I would completely disagree. That's a very extreme way to put it. the vernacular you used was extreme, in my opinion, my humble opinion. But I understand your emotion behind it and kind of the passion you bring forth to the table regarding that. I wouldn't say it's mass murder. Herd immunity is an actual concept where if more people get it, our bodies do build a resistance. The human body is capable of amazing things.
But
And when
hold,
you look at from a medical
right there,
standpoint,
stick a pin right there, Trip. If 8 million people got the virus in the world, not in the world, over 8 million in the US, I believe, right? 200,000 people dead, right? If you multiply that by 2, if 16 million people catch it, that means 400,000 people were dead or more, 500,000, that's 500,000 people. So are you saying let as much people catch it and just a portion of that would die? And the portion of that would die is disproportionately from my community. Should I accept that and say, well, yeah, okay, that sounds good. Let's all talk about herd immunity. How is that not mass murder? I don't understand. Herd immunity is mass murder. As far as let me bring in Funde. I don't know if Funde want to talk on it.
No, I'm loving this. So I think the idea behind herd immunity is that enough people will catch it and then we'll build up this sense of immunity. What I don't like with this is that the people that it's going to affect. Because remember, when you think about who will get it the most, you have to think of the densely populated areas. Who lives in densely populated areas? Lots of minorities. So I think number wise, playing a numbers game, it's like Darwinism, like survival of the fittest.
Yeah.
So if you get it, hopefully you won't be the one to die.
And the people
I think it's being taken out of context. To be completely honest with you, the way they say herd immunity, excuse me one moment, let me just explain this. It's being taken out of context. Like I said, it's not good when anyone dies. Obviously, we all agree on that. But the problem with with kind of what you're saying, where you're coming from, is that when you bring up herd immunity equals mass murder, that just does not equate. And the reason why is because when you have herd immunity, I think what they're trying to do is explain it in saying that if enough people do get it, ultimately the levels will line up, and so ultimately you see a whole spike and then it levels off, and that's always happened throughout swine.
In that spike, what's going to happen with the spike?
Yes.
Yes, and we don't
We're
want that
not
to
all
happen.
going to come out of that spike.
Right, and no one wants that to happen. There's
Yeah, we're
preventative
not going to
measures
come out of that spike. So I don't think we're taking it out of context at all.
I'm not taking it out of context. Herd immunity equal mass murder for my community. Probably not other communities, but in my community, it's mass murder.
In the densely populated areas, yes.
We cannot, a lot of people say, okay, work from home. A lot of my people, a lot of my community, they cannot work from home, Trip. They have to go into work. And worse yet, they don't even have a stimulus for them to stay home. So it makes it even worse. It's mandatory that they go into work. They don't have a choice because the kids have to eat. Otherwise, they die. They die either way, but they're going to die, right? So herd immunity equal mass murder for my community. Probably not other communities, but my community. And that's why I said that is mass murder, right? That spike is people dying and is from my community. So I'm very concerned about that. The other thing that you spoke about is the fact that younger people catch it. Only younger people catch it and they get well. That is true. I give you that. You get that, right? Younger people catch it and they recover fine, no problem. But these younger people, they're not in a vacuum by themselves. They interact with their mothers, their grandmothers, their fathers. And some young people, by the way, have asthma. Like my daughter, she has asthma. And I pray to God that nobody don't catch it in my house because I'm scared as hell that she catches it, right? I am fearful. I mean, I am on pins and needles every time she go out. And anytime anybody come to my house, I make sure I do all the precautionary measures because my daughter has asthma really bad. So younger people catch it and the Trump say, hey, younger people catch it and they feel okay, but they're not in a bubble. Why can't the administration understand that?
Well, first of all, safety of your family is a key priority. I myself have a 92-year-old grandmother, and so I'm very cognizant of who I interact with and make sure that you're not touching too many people, you're maintaining your social distancing and all of that. Because, like you said, there is a domino effect. If you get it, you don't want others and your loved ones and your family to ultimately, be affected by it. But when it comes back to, blaming the Trump administration, which is what most people do over and over again, is that at the end of the day, his administration has put guidelines. It's on the websites. It's literally been at the briefings. There's CDC guidelines. It's just up to the people to follow the rules. And I just think that the sentiment among most Americans is that the government should not be telling them what to do, especially when they want to live their lives the way they do. So you're absolutely right. We shouldn't be completely inconsiderate of the virus and make it not something that we don't take seriously. But at the end of the day, it is something that you got to have that test. I mean, you don't want to get people sick. You're absolutely right on that. And you got to be very careful because at the end of the day, others can be impacted. And yes, you're absolutely right. Young people are affected. And there have been cases where young people have died. It's been on the news. It's been, there's been case studies on it. There's been even that one individual got it twice. So I do understand where you're coming from. We do have to treat it with respect and we have to be very careful around the virus. But at the end of the day, most people, I'm not saying all, most people who are young, under 45 or younger, ultimately recover. I'm not saying all recover, but those with underlying symptoms like asthma, like those COPD, cardiovascular diseases, pulmonary diseases, they are at high risk. And I'm not saying that they should go out as much, but what I am saying is that they need to be understanding of what their condition is. But at the end of the day, you can't have that condition affect millions of other Americans who are going through hardship because they may be not prone to maybe dying because of their good health. And it is a virus at the end of the day. It affects everyone differently. So how can you tell how it's going to affect one person versus the other?
Yeah. Okay, Trip. I wish that we had like a 2 hour. I like talking.
You and Trip, I think you and Trip will go all night.
We will seriously because I disagree with so much things Trip is saying. I wish I could have like a whole day program.
I think we can hold.
Instead of what we disagree, why don't we focus on what we do agree? I think we do agree that
we can definitely bring Trip back.
Trip, what do we agree on?
I want to.
We have Donovan that we're gonna bring in. Donovan,
yeah.
He has a very important story to share as it relates to immigration.
I think Trip will agree on that because Trip is an immigration, and I feel like I'm just in the back burner tonight. I'm like over here.
Right. There, you're good.
But I just want to say one thing, Junior. I want to leave this on a positive note. I do want to have a sense of optimism as we do go. Whatever happens on Tuesday next week, I do want to leave our viewers, along with the American people, and along with you two who are kind enough to allow me to come on your show and have some discourse about certain policies involving coronavirus and a little bit of immigration. But I think we should end it on a positive note, something we all agree. And I'll list 3 things that we all agree, and maybe Junior, you can
hang around, Trip. I think you should hang around.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'll definitely be hanging around. I want to hear our next speaker's story, but just wanted to say, 3 things I think we both agree on, and 3 things that I agree on. But I think I agree that, I think we both agree that we both love this country, and this love of this country, we may have different ways of approaching different policies. And at the end of the day, you're saying certain things and I'm saying certain things, but at the end of the day, it's to keep the American people safe. And so that's number 1. I think we love this country and the people that live here. Number 2, I think that we agree that the virus is a serious issue in this country. I think we do agree with that, and that more respect needs to be given towards that. And number 3, what would you say is your 3rd thing that you agree? But those are the 2 that I agree with you on. Save the best for last. What about you? Besides the fact that we're both probably immigrants, and we've gone through similar circumstances with different viewpoints, but what's the 3rd thing that you can think of that we both agree on? Because at the end of the day, we're still both Americans who love this country and our families and the American people. But what's the 3rd and final thing?
I don't know. I really don't know. What's the 3rd thing that we agree on, or much things that we agreed on? I can't think of it at the moment.
I would say the 3rd thing maybe we both agree on is that we both want an optimistic future, regardless of what president is voted in. I think we want and basically unite the American people under this flag, because at the end of the day, we may have different policy opinions and perspectives, but at the end of the day, I think that we both agree that we want to see more unification in this country rather than division, and ultimately want to see better for the American people. So I'll leave it at that. I wanted to thank the viewership of all the people who watched. You may not have agreed with everything I said, but I still appreciate y'all tuning in and providing your comments. And Deani and Junior, I just want to say thank you very much for having on your show, and I look forward to further dialogue in the future. So thank you for your time. I really appreciate your viewpoint.
Guys, don't go nowhere. When we come back, we have an interview with a young man who has an immigration story to share about asylum. You don't want to miss it. Don't move. We'll be right back.
It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas.
Is it too early to celebrate Christmas?
No,
Not really.
because on Sunday, November 1st from 6 p.m., Megaforce Promotions presents the massive Christmas in November Bingo Online.
And get this,
You can win a whopping $20,000. Tickets cost only $20. Available now on gotofed.com or numerous box offices island-wide. And if that's not enough, look out for a live performance by Tara the Governor.
Tara the Governor.
Sunday, November 1st. Join the fun and excitement online. Play Waggity Virtual Bingo.
The new way to play bingo.
All right, guys, play Waggity Bingo, the new way to play bingo. And I'd like to thank Trip for coming on. I really I like the conversation. Although we agree on a lot of things, disagree on a lot of things. I think one of the things that I guess we could agree on is that we all immigrants and we all want the best going forward, and including election nights. We want that whoever win would actually, just have a peaceful turnover of power. So that the fear of violence in the streets won't be something that we actually come to see, right? We really don't want that. I'm fearful of that, and hopefully good sense prevail. This is Ridealong Live on a Wednesday, and of course, myself and Deani Winter Fun, they always comes in on Wednesday and talk about immigration. And right now we have a young man who is joining us, Donovan Tivoli Wallace. Donovan has a very, very interesting story to share. Donovan, first of all, welcome to Ridealong. How are you doing, sir?
Unmute Donovan. Donovan, we cannot hear you. You gotta unmute.
He's on mute. He's on mute.
Oh,
He's not muted. Donovan, try again. No, I'm not hearing you, Donovan. You might wanna I don't know, your headphone probably not working. I'm not sure. All right, now we're still not hearing you. Go ahead and share the program, guys. We're sorting out Donovan audio. Hey, let me pick up a couple people in the meantime. Donovan sorting out his audio. We'll fix it out. And Makisha Morris, thank you so much. Guys, also what we want you guys to do. No, we're not hearing you still. What we want you guys to do is go out and vote. Early voting is open. Polls are open right now in all the voting states. In New York, if you're in New York, you could go vote. I think all states are you could go out and vote right now. November 3rd, right? Don't wait for November 3rd, guys. You guys could go out and vote starting right now. All right. I'm not hearing him.
mm-mm.
All right, Donovan. This is what I want you to do. Go back out and come back in. Go back out and come back in, and we're gonna get your audio, guys. Again, we're live. Funday, what's your thoughts on Trip and his position and what was said here today? What could we learn from all of it?
I think I respect Tripp's position, one, and I commend him for coming on a platform such as this. I think a lot of us, we are very comfortable with debating behind the keyboard. We don't want to meet with people like meeting with our neighbors and having a conversation because their views, their political views are a little bit different from ours. So I think it's important that we have these conversations, especially going into next week. And admit that we're going to disagree on certain things. And I must commend also the audience. They were super respectful. Yes. They were giving their thoughts. I saw Professor Darren Johnson in there. I saw Mo in there giving his thoughts. So I thought that was pretty neat that he was yes, we're hearing you, Donovan.
Yes.
Perfectly.
So I think it was great that he I think it was great that he came on this platform because he knows who's on the platform. He knows the views of most of the individuals on the platform. So I commend Trip, we call him Trip, Attorney Tripathi, for coming on.
Right. And leading up to the election, we're gonna have a few other programs that deals and talk and let people understand what's happening as it relates to the election. So, Donovan, how you doing, my friend? How things?
I am great, thank you. And you?
Are we good? We good? We good? Donovan, I've heard your story, and I think your story will help so many people because we have been dealing for next this month, end of this month into next month, we're trying to ascertain some of these problems and see how we could resolve and help people on their path. So Donovan, tell us your story because you know it's a roller coaster one, and I'm very interested to hear what happened. Tell us about your life in Jamaica and why you had to get an asylum to come into the U.S.
Okay, living in Jamaica all my life. I grew up in the very ghetto area of West Kingston called Tivoli Garden.
Uh huh.
So while growing up in Tivoli Garden, it was very rough. So being an individual who is gay, you can't show that you are gay or you can't be who you are. Cause if you try to express yourself and how you feel, they probably will hurt you, kill you, kidnap you, and that would be it. So after living in Tivoli Garden for a while, I wasn't feeling quite comfortable with the environment no more. So I moved to St. Anne, where I started living since 2002. So I started Ferncourt High School there, and moving to St. Anne, I realized it wasn't as that they weren't that homophobic
Right.
in St. Anne compared to Kingston. So I realized that people were kind of like comfortable with me, like coming out of my little nutshell, doing my little fashion shows, hosting my little pageant, dancing, and teaching young girls to model and stuff like that. So I kind of felt a little bit relaxed, but I still wasn't open because I wasn't too sure if everyone would have accepted me for who I am, knowing oh Jamaica is very homophobic and stuff that I've seen on the internet where student at the University of the West Indies is trying to seek refuge in a security booth, and they started attacking him as well because he was gay. So it's like there was nowhere for him to run to for rescue.
Right.
So I had I had a couple of friends that are living here now in the United States, females, because growing up I used to only have female as my friends.
Let me ask you a quick question before you go on to that. Were you an openly gay individual? Did people know of it, or it was something that you was hiding?
It was something that I was hiding all my life in Jamaica. I actually, when I got my asylum in 2017, that's the time I got out of my nutshell. I came on social media, Facebook platform, Instagram, and I started posting myself with my boyfriend, and I started feeling quite relaxed, comfortable in my own skin. So at that time, I started like coming out. But I didn't really get any bashing from any family members or friends. I just got a lot of support and people telling me that, oh, we knew from a longer time, we knew from a longer time. So that made me feel much happy. So I didn't really get a lot of bashing. I didn't get bashing at all from anybody.
Okay, I got you. I got you. So you moved to another part of Jamaica, and Funde, this is a part where I want you to come in here because part of getting an asylum, sometimes when you apply for asylum, they would ask you, is it like a universal type of thing where it's happening all over? Can you just move to another part? And sometimes it's difficult because it might be happening in Kingston and not happening in another part of Jamaica. Is it difficult in his situation? Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, unmute, unmute.
I should know better, right? When you think
Yeah.
of this for so long. So Jamaica is a super small island. And think it's
Why am
not-
I? I'm not hearing you too clear, Funde. I don't know why.
Is it better?
Your headphone. Yeah, yeah. Go ahead now.
All right. Is that better?
Yes.
So Jamaica is a super small island, and one of the things they look for in a case such as Donovan's or anybody who's seeking asylum, they look for what we call country conditions.
Right.
Jamaica is super small, and they've done a really good job of putting themselves on the map as being a very homophobic state. So in that, it's not too hard when you're mounting a claim for asylum for somebody from the island of Jamaica to say, what do you want them to do? Move from Kingston to St. Anne? That's how many kilometers apart. It's not a very big country. It's not like we could say to somebody like Donovan, move from New York to California and you won't be persecuted. Jamaica
Right.
has a national reputation for being homophobic. So it's not like they have to search too hard to
Right.
find whether Jamaica is homophobic or not.
I got you. I got you. So you moved over there, Donovan, and who brought you onto the idea that it was even possible to get asylum into the U.S.?
I started out by traveling on the J1 program because I started Money College in 2013, and I started the Money College where I studied hospitality and tourism. And I wasn't thinking of asylum at that point because at that point I had like some close friends. I have a friend by the name of Tanya White Williams. I had another friend.
I think she's on here tonight, Donovan.
Yeah,
Your
she's
big
on.
supporter.
Yes, she's one of my biggest supporters. Tanya, um, Shauna, and Wendy. Those are like my three biggest supporters. When I decided that I'm coming out, they embraced me. They should. The love was still there. The love was still there. So when I decided that I wanted to get asylum, it was in 2017. So I got into a little situation in 2016 where I got into some little trouble with the law here in the United States, and the trouble that I got into with the law, I was then transported to the Hudson County immigration facility in New Jersey. So at that facility, they started my deportation proceeding.
Right.
And at that point, when I met my lawyer, I told my lawyer that I was in fear of going back to Jamaica because I fear persecution of my sexuality. And at that time, my whole sexuality was published on Facebook because there was a conversation between a young man and I on Facebook, and someone hacked into his phone and screenshot all the conversation that we had on Facebook Messenger and then post them on Facebook.
Wow.
So people started bashing us, bashing him. So I felt that fear of going back into the community because it was getting really, really, really nasty on social media. So the threat was coming in that I should not come back to Jamaica, and if I come back to Jamaica, they're going to kill me, they're going to burn down my house. So at that point, I decided that my only option right now in immigration was to seek asylum. Upon seeking asylum in the United States, it wasn't that difficult because the immigration system in the United States, they know the situation when it comes to homosexuality being legalized in Jamaica in regard to our boogery law and all of that. So they know the situation and the circumstances surrounding gays and transgender in Jamaica, that Jamaica is very, very homophobic towards anybody who is considered gay or lesbian. So doing their research, it was they have more than the proof that they needed to grant me the asylum because inside the United States, Jamaica is ranked as the most homophobic country in the world.
Right.
So applying for asylum here in the United States is not that difficult. What they want to see when you apply for an asylum here, they want to see proof. that you are what you said you are what you say you are. I remember I had to give them like contact numbers for like my principal at my high school, teachers at my high school, people in my community. So they reached out to my principal, they reached out to teachers, they reached out to friends to get feedback on the type of person I am, to see if I was really who I said I am.
Right.
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 So I was granted asylum, and I got released from the detention center the same day I got asylum. And I must say, it was a very hard and long and tedious moment trying to get that asylum. But I thank God I got through and I overcome all my fears. And now I can say openly that I'm comfortable in my own skin, that I can come on any social media platform and say I am openly gay, and I can say I'm truly proud of myself because I am 33 years old, and for like 30 years I have been living in the closet. I've been living in that nutshell. So now living in the United States, I feel free. I can be who I want to be. I can, I can express myself wherever I go, and I still feel comfortable in my own skin. And I have that support from my families and my friends. And to be and the funniest thing about it, I have a lot of straight friends. When I mean a lot, thousands of straight individual who respect me, who still support me based on they know that I am in a relationship with a guy. They still reach out to me. They still give me a phone call. They still check up on me. So I still have that support from a lot of respectable individual in my community in St. Anne.
Right. Thanks for sharing that story. Diana, let's look at the legal aspect and what is needed chronologically when someone is planning on filing for asylum. What's the first step?
So before I even go into the steps, I want to commend Donovan because number one, he's Jamaican and a lot of people are listening. And for a Jamaican man to say openly they're gay, that is a huge step. And when I spoke to Donovan on coming onto this show, I said, I know you want to tell your story, but I want you to talk to that young man in Jamaica or that young woman in Jamaica who's going through the same thing. Because Donovan's story, if you notice, 3 years ago he came out. So for all those years living in Jamaica, he had to be living in this turmoil and living in his skin. And I know Donovan, maybe later we're going to bring you back so you can tell fully your story. But I must commend you, man, for just coming out and just sharing, so all the young men in Jamaica that are listening can be proud because you're now an advocate. You're now a voice for them. And
Thank you.
you're most welcome. Don't go nowhere. Stay with it
Yeah.
in thinking he has a thanks like yeah leave.
Yeah.
And Donovan has slowly crawled up into my heart, into a little corner of my heart where
Oh,
I look out for him and check in with him from time to time. So I appreciate you coming on,
thank you so
Donovan.
much. No
You're most
problem.
welcome. So in seeking asylum in the United States, you have to show fear of persecution.
Right.
That's the legal terminology. And you must not only show the fear, you must also show that you belong to one of those protected classes. Race is one, meaning if I go back home, I'll be persecuted or killed because of my race. You
Right.
also have to show gender, sexual orientation, your religious beliefs, or your political beliefs.
Right.
In the case of Donovan, in the case of Tivoli, in the case of Donovan, he had to show that he belongs to that class and he's been persecuted because of his sexual orientation. Meaning, if he were supposed to get on a plane, go back home to Jamaica, go back home to his home country, he is going to be persecuted. And Donovan said something. He said his case was relatively easy. I don't think his case was easy. I believe we had the right facts. One, he's credible, right?
Right.
Because
Yeah.
you'll have some Jamaicans that say, okay, mega send me no, forget asylum. It doesn't work that simple. Over 90% of these cases are denied,
Wow.
right? Yes, these are not easy cases to win. I've lost more than I've won with asylum. because the system is kind of abused, which is why they've tightened the laws. But he has to show that he belongs to that class. And he has to show that gayness is something that he cannot change. It's
Right.
an immutable characteristic. I am gay. It doesn't mean he has to walk in with his boyfriend or his partner on his arm and kiss, kiss, kiss. No, you have to show that you belong to that class of people. And
Right.
there'll be a lot of investigation as to whether Donovan is gay or not. And that he's not just saying, I'm gay to gain the protections of US asylum laws.
So they do investigate you after you open up, after you start that application or that process. They do a full level of investigation to ascertain if what you're saying is actually the truth.
Yes, and they'll do a lot of documentary evidence, and Donovan can speak to this as well. They'll ask you to submit documents, which
Yes,
is
they did.
oftentimes challenging for somebody who is detained. Um, but they ask you to submit documents, evidence.
Quick,
I know
quick,
Donovan's puncher conditions was strong because I
quick
know.
point.
Go ahead, Donovan.
Quick pointer. I remember when I was there to get the evidence, I had to have my lawyer get access to my Facebook account. So I have to give my lawyer my login information for her to contact certain individual, so certain individual can provide certain document for her, and for her to like contact my boyfriend, so my boyfriend can send her like pictures of us
Evidence.
and evidence of us. Right.
Absolutely. And that's what I mean by the documentary evidence. Maybe going back to the high school principal, she'll write an affidavit of what she has seen, get that notarized or signed in the case of Jamaica by the
Right.
justice of the peace, just to say this evidence is credible. So it's
Right.
not just you showing up and say, I am gay, it's
Okay.
also
Right.
you proving, whether it was published in the newspaper, the day you were threatened, who, what, where, when, why, and how. And it can't be just a criminal act. We need more. We need to show that these actors are somehow tied to the government, or the government is failing to protect
That's
Donovan.
it.
So there's
Right.
some steps that you really have to go through to flush out a really good asylum case.
Yeah, and we spoke to some. Well, we've been in touch with someone who's going through something similar. So this not only speak to Donovan, but it speaks to a lot of people that's watching and trying to figure out, what do I do? How do I go through the process? So could someone do asylum procedure without a lawyer, Funde? What's your recommendation?
It's listen. You can. There are thousands of people daily who are what we call pro se litigants. Whether they're applying for asylum in court, like Donovan, he was in a detention center, so he went in front of an immigration judge, or those that are doing what we call affirmative asylum, meaning
Right,
they're presenting themselves at the border. It can be done. It's not what I recommend. Asylum area, that area, that practice area of the law is extremely complicated.
right,
um, so I wouldn't recommend it. But to answer your question, yes, you can
right.
represent yourself in an asylum proceeding.
Well, as we always say here, that you are our very credible legal representative, and there are a lot of people who are going through problems. They need a lawyer to represent them, and we have to give them your contact information so that they could do so. So, Funde, give them your number again, and I want you guys to write this number down and share this number with at least 5 of your friends. Not only for asylum, but everything else as we talk about in immigration. So, Funde, share your number one more time so everybody could get it as it deals with asylum or anything immigration.
So if anybody wants to contact me and find out more about how you can qualify for asylum, whether it's from Jamaica or any other Caribbean island, my number is 813-815-3529. 813-815-3529.
That's 813-815-3529. That's the number. I just paste it in there so everybody can write it down and share it with a friend. Donovan, I want to bring you on sometime next week. We have a part two of our discussion sometime next week, which you're going to give your entire story. But I just really wanted you to represent for asylum seekers and the process and the things that they go through in order to seek asylum. But we are going to have you back on to get your full story. I know you're anxious to telling your full story and what happened in Jamaica and all the things. I really want to get that. But we are going to bring you back on sometime later in the week if we get that. Diana Winter Fun Day. Donovan, before we go, last words, real quick before we wrap up.
Especially to
Um,
speak, Donovan, to those young men that are listening, that kind of go through some of the stuff that you went through prior to age 30 to 33.
my advice to everybody right now that is listening to me right now: be comfortable, be be you, be happy. Don't live for the past 20 something years to 30 years. I have been living for people, and that makes me so uncomfortable. It's time for you to live for yourself, be comfortable, be happy, and be you. And if anyone out there, like, you need somebody to talk to, you need somebody to, like, to express your feelings to, you can find me on Facebook. You can hit me up, and then I can always be a voice for you.
What is your name on Facebook, Donovan?
Yeah, what's the contact on Facebook?
What you have gone again?
Yeah, we lost your audio again.
We lost your audio. I think it's Donovan Tivoli Wallace on Facebook. Donovan, we cannot hear you again, but I
Yes.
know your Facebook. There you go.
Are
What
you
is your
bringing it
name
back
on
again?
Facebook?
You hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
My name on Facebook is Donovan Tiv Wallace. And if you want, if you want, you can contact me by my number directly if you want, and that's 508-907-4389. That's 508-907-4389. I want to be a voice for the voiceless. I want to be a voice for those young, those young, those young people who are scared of expressing themselves, are scared of coming out of their nutshell. So I want to be that voice. I want to be that advocate for those young people right now.
All right. Thank you so much, Donovan. We're definitely gonna keep in touch with you. And Fun Day, thank you so much for putting this one here together. Fun Day, let me ask you a question.
I'm busy at dancing.
But do you think I was hard on Trip? Do you think
I
Trip?
love the conversation, and Trip loves that.
Oh
I
man.
don't think you were. I think it's important, Junior, that we have these conversations.
Yeah.
So just like how Trip, you notice Trip was open to listen to you
Yeah.
and hear what you have to say, and vice versa. You listened. I think those are the conversations that we need to have leading into the third and after the third. Because I
Yeah.
mean, we all have to share the same space, the
Yeah.
same backyard, the same fence.
Yeah.
But yeah, you were kind of
Yeah. I know. I'm sorry.
uh.
In retrospect, I probably shouldn't be yelling at him because I'm not mad at Trip. I mean, Trip is a good guy.
I was over here like,
I know. I look back at the tape and I'm like,
oh,
oh, ooh, ooh.
I was ducking. But let me tell you something.
Yeah,
Harden Tripathi can handle that.
you can handle that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man. He's not emotional, so he's coming to you.
I get
Trip is
emotional. See, I get emotional.
and then Trip is not emotional. He's
Yeah,
coming to you with because Trip has worked in policy for federal government for a long time. So
right.
policy is his thing. That's why whenever I want to go to policy, I'm like Trip,
Yeah,
because he's big on that. So he's not going to get emotional. I mean, he's gonna speak from facts, from policy and stuff, and he can handle it.
okay, okay. But I just wanted
I
to
don't
say
think
that it's my
Trip is
job
afraid.
to be opinionated. It's my
Yeah,
job to
man.
be opinionated.
Trip isn't afraid of. Trip is a consummate professional. I can tell you that he's not going to yell. He's going to be extremely professional. He just like how you stand in your views, Junior. You believe in what you believe in, and you stand in it.
Yeah,
He stands in his views, and he does so respectfully. What I
yeah,
don't like is when people try to disrespect him or individuals. He doesn't. He won't disrespect you.
right.
He's gonna have a good conversation, which the both of you have.
Yeah.
It's a Trip there. Trip watching us. Hey, Trip.
Hey, Trip, big up yourself,
Big up
Trip.
yourself, Trip. Welcome. Right along. No, Trip does not. He's not emotional at all, and he will sit and have that conversation with you until tomorrow
Yeah.
morning. Yes.
I want to have a program closer to the election as well. Where we have different representatives. You know what I mean? I wanna dive deep because a lot of the idea is to just let people understand. Um, I'm very passionate about the things, and what really grinds me to the core is when I go to those funerals, man, and I see
I
this
know.
stuff happening. It just bothers me. You know what I mean? So when I turn on CNN and I see that the president is speaking contrary to what I know is true, it really irks me,
Hmm.
you know. And I don't, the defense of that, it's inexcusable to
Hmm.
me, you know. And that's why I get so passionate about things like that. But Trip, I want to have you back on one, me and you,
So
mano a
what about
mano.
me,
You're
Junior?
gonna be the referee. You know, you're gonna be
You're
the
bringing
referee.
Donovan back, bringing Trick back.
You always here. Come on, you always here.
Okay.
You
Thank
always.
you.
You could be the referee. You're
All
gonna be
right.
pressing the buttons.
All
You're gonna be pressing the
right.
button and telling me, Junior, stop, stop, time out. Drink some coffee, Junior.
Hey, Harper. Lisa Carper. Let me tell you, Lisa Carper is instrumental in developing my Immigration Law Academy. She's on here. For all of you, Winter Immigration Law Academy is coming. It's where you can purchase my courses for immigration law for less than it takes to if you have to retain me. So all of you want to do your naturalization application by yourself, that I-130 by yourself. Did I just like plug my own
Not
show and
yet.
kick you off,
I,
Junior?
I I pressed the wrong button. That's what I did.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
Lisa Carper is instrumental in that. So look out for that. That's coming next.
Yeah. And guys, pay attention. We just want everybody to go out there and vote. Um, oh, a Trip says,
It's
look
a
at,
one on one. I'm about. I told
hey, let's go. Let's do
Triple
it.
ain't backing
Let's do it.
down. I'm telling you, Trip ain't scared.
One on one, mano a mano. Let's go at it.
Trip, Trip will
Go at
do
it.
it. I'll monitor that debate. You have to give up the mic,
Yeah,
and it has to be you giving up the questioning and you being. We can talk about it.
yeah. Let's do it. I really want to talk about it. I want to jump further into it. I really want to.
It was a good conversation.
Yeah.
Good.
All right, so fun day. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
I
everybody.
appreciate you. And again, we're back here tomorrow. Tomorrow is Battle of the Sexes, guys. Thursday. So here's the scenario for tomorrow, fun day. You could watch it.
Okay.
So I want to find out. Let me read the exact title, the script for tomorrow. Let me pull it up. Let me pull
I
it
thought
up.
it was somebody bringing somebody into something. I saw
Battle of
this.
the Sexes is Battle of the Sexes tomorrow. Here's the question. Would you agree to give your husband permission to have sex with another female if you're unable or unwilling to satisfy him sexually? That's the question tomorrow. We got two panelists and they're going to go at it.
All right, I have all night to think about it. I'll think about it and watch tomorrow. I don't want to make a decision. I don't want to make a speedy decision.
No, don't. Just watch
I'll
it.
watch it. I'll watch tomorrow.
Tomorrow at 6 p.m. We're back here live and Ride Along Live. And we're back again in a regular programming. Don't forget, guys, if you have a business that you want to advertise, you can definitely contact Ride Along Live. Any last word, Funday?
Just to thank everybody that joined today, whether you're Republican or Democrat, whether you're gay or straight. That's the beautiful thing about Ride Along. Everybody has a story to tell.
Yeah, couldn't say it better myself. Everyone have a story to tell. Peace out, guys. Fun day. We'll catch you later. Bye-bye.
Nobody can hold me, man. Nobody can change my.
Yeah, guys. Also, we want you to get the word out. Get the word out. A lot's happening. Guys. Where should I start? If you have a business and you want to advertise, yeah, we want to get your business promoted. Ride Along Live is a place to be. Advertise your business right here on Ride Along Live. It pays to advertise. It pays to advertise. Call 718-701-5720.
Your enemies, they must tremble. Your enemies, they must tremble. Yo, and when you roll, everything has to humble. Everything.
Also, we got to tell you that the election, St. Vincent and the Grenadines election is right around the corner. And we also, dog, big up yourself. We're also going to be doing a discussion on St. Vincent and the Grenadines early next week. I want you guys to tune in for that because I think St. Vincent and the Grenadines is on the 5th. And we're paying close attention. If Ralph Gonzalez win election again this time around, it would be 20 years. Is it 20 or 25? 25 years. Wow. Been in there 20 years already. So we're going to talk about it next week on the program. So, Doug, we want you on this one, all right? We want you on this one, Doug. Guys, don't forget that get your hand sanitizer from the Grenada Distillers Limited. Hand sanitizer, 70% alcohol by volume. That's 70% alcohol by volume. Yeah. Bottled by Grenada, available in Grenada by the Grenada Distillers Limited. Also, we have some information where you could pick that up in Grenada as well. Not forgetting the Waggy Tea Mega Force promotion. Sunday, November 1st. Waggy Tea Virtual Bingo, $20,000 to be won. Tickets only $20. Get your tickets right now for the Waggy Tea Bingo. Bingo.
Nobody can change my energy. Nobody can hold me sick. I will not allow negativity. Nobody can hold me human. Nobody can change my energy. Nobody can.
Guys, we aired this program yesterday, right? You remember Timothy? Listen, I want you guys to do this for me. We paste the link for the GoFundMe on our page. I want you to go back there and support. Listen, if you didn't see this program yesterday, get a towel or get some tissue and watch that program. It will bring tears to your eye, I promise you. It is so emotional. You got to check this program out. And before you comment on it, I want you guys to go and watch the program. Please go watch the program. It's still on the page. Go check it out. Guys, if you have a private or public event you want stream on Ride Along Family, contact us 718-701-5720. Stream and watch from home. Funerals, weddings, whatever you have, Ride Along live. We stream it live. Quality video production. Ride Along live. Call us 718-701-5200. Join Dr. Z tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. for Rise with Dr. Z. Yeah, Rise with Dr. Z. Tomorrow at 8 a.m. Tomorrow she has someone from the St. Andrew's Learning Center. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting program in the morning. Wake up in the morning and Rise with Dr. Z. On this battlefield, you know, we always support small business, right? So if you have a small business and you want to advance your business, you want to go send your business viral, advertise and Ride Along Live. Also, guys, download Emoji. Go to your app store right now and search Emoji. It's a social media app and it's finger licking good. Check out Emoji, EMOOGE, new social media platform. Check it out. Peace out, guys. Catch me tomorrow. Bye-bye. Hey, I got some good news for you. Looking for a passionate immigration lawyer with experience that spans over 2 decades? Someone trusted that served immigrant families just like yours? Well, look no more. Now you can benefit from her personal and professional experience. Diane Winter Funde. Schedule a consultation now and get assistance with your immigration journey. Specialize in adjustment of status, B1 business visa, B2 visitor's visa, consular processing, deportation defense, naturalization, and more. Give us a call today at 813-815-3529. That's 813-815-3529 or online at winterimmigration.com. Attorney Diane Winter Funde. Law done differently.
It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas.
Is it too early to celebrate Christmas?
No, not really.
Because on Sunday, November 1st from 6 p.m.,
Mega Force Promotions presents
the massive
massive Christmas in November bingo online. And get this, you can win a whopping $20,000. Tickets cost only $20. Available now on gotofed.com or numerous box offices island-wide. And if that's not enough, look out for live performance by Terra the Governor. Terra the Governor. Sunday, November 1st. Join the fun and excitement online. Play Waggity Virtual Bingo. The new way to play bingo.
A message by the Grenada Distillers Limited.
You want a hand sanitizer to do 3 things: kill germs, be gentle, and to go where you go. You can get all of that in our hand sanitizer. Hard on germs, gentle on hands, affordable. Remember, hand sanitizers contain alcohol. Keep away from heat and flames and avoid contact with eyes. Available at retailers island-wide.